Each year in MLB the Show Diamond Dynasty, we get more and more content, which also means there are more and more cards that end up being not used. Some featured programs release 60 cards. The postseason program is just tons of content. And there's so many different ways to get cards in MLB the Show. Some cards are gonna just end up not being used. Today, I want to put a little bit of a spotlight on these players that aren't used at all and go through the rarest 99 overall players we've gotten in DD this year. I want to go through each position and what I think the rarest card is, if you do want to have some fun and use them. And I want to play a short 3-inning mini seasons game to get a feel of these cards, maybe try to understand in game why they could be rare, because a lot of times it could be with the cards being dookie. And I want to explain why I think each card is rare and why this kind of happens each year in Diamond Dynasty. So without further ado, let's hop on into it. First, I want to quickly talk about why cards end up being rare and what makes cards not used. Usually it's a bunch of factors, from just the card's attributes not being good. Maybe they're just released a little bit later where that player of that type just isn't good for the point in the game they came out. Or maybe it's a lot of work to get said card, so the people who are grinding the game to get the card usually aren't going to use it because they have better. A lot of different reasons can affect cards being rare. So how am I going to judge this myself? For me, I'm looking at when the card is released, what type of program and avenue they were earnable, and how many people have the card paralleled. The main factor I'm looking at is parallel 4 and parallel 5s on players, because this usually determines how much a player is used. So that is how I'm going to be judging these players and deciding which player is the most rare. But let me know in the comments what you think and if you happen to use these players. I would love to see if you guys actually find some joy in using these cards, because clearly not many people have. First, I want to talk about Jacob Stallings. He's definitely the most rare catcher. It's very slim in terms of a position, but there are not many 99 overalls that can be considered very rare. The only other players that can maybe be in contention are like Gary Carter, but Jacob Stallings is the guy. Came out in the finest program, a lot of better catchers in this program. Just this card was too weak versus righties, even back in MLB 20. Only one person has in parallel 5, 3 people have in parallel 4, and 7 people have in parallel 3. Even for a card that came out just the other month, that is such a little amount of people. First base, I think the pick is Jeff Bagwell. There are other players with less parallel 4s and parallel 5s, but he was one of the first 99s that we got in that one choice pack. Only 6 parallel 5s and only 37 parallel 4s. And for a card that was very good at the time he dropped, Jeff Bagwell's a terrible swing. That's what it comes down to. People don't like his cards usually, so they didn't even bother. Also, he was a little bit expensive in that one choice pack. Second base does not have many primary players, but I think the pick is DJ LeMahieu. Even though he came out in that finest program, there's such a little amount of people that have in parallel 5s, only one person. And the attributes aren't that bad in this card to be a good end game type second baseman. But you know, Jorge Polanco, Jose Altuve, amongst the other shortstops that have secondaries at second, makes so much more sense to use them. So I get why LeMahieu wasn't used, but I did like this card back in MLB 19 when he first dropped. At shortstop, without a doubt, it's Miguel Rojas. There aren't that many shortstops, but this card is released at the point when we got a bunch of them in that finest program. And you know, this card sucked even back in MLB 20. Just nobody has in parallel 5. One person has in parallel 4, and only 4 people have in parallel 3. Not even 5 people have used this card a significant amount of time, which is kind of nutty. Makes sense. The card isn't that great. There's so many better shortstops, so I get it. Also, you know, not many Marlins fans. Sorry. At third base, I think the pick is Vinny Castilla. You know, the card actually wasn't bad, but he was one of the first 99s. He was a headliner. There were even some lower overalls. Like, you could argue Rafael Devers, his monthly award was better than this. I think this card was just mid and not exciting. This is one of the first 99s, and there are only 32 parallel 4s and 7 parallel 5s. I get it because third base is so stacked, but I just wish we had a better Vinny, because he was always a fun one. In terms of left field, this is in the same category Vinny. Jim Rice for sure. Just not a bad card, but the outfield is so stacked. He's one of the first 99s that we got. 2 parallel 5s only is very low, and 21 parallel 4s. You know, just not enough on this card to make people want to use him. Also, I cannot stand his swing stride. It just can't time anything with him. George Springer is definitely the guy at center field. There aren't that many center fielders that weren't used too much because, you know, there weren't many in the game. But George Springer just came out of that postseason program when there's so many better options. He's like a worse Byron Buxton finest, and he came out right around then. So it makes sense how people didn't use George Springer. Also, it was a lot of work to grind in the postseason program to get him. Only 13 people have in parallel 3, so I just wish they juiced him a little bit more in this card this year. They could have had a little bit more viability. And the last one I want to mention is Reggie Jackson. He's in the same boat as George Springer. Better hitter, Worst fielder. You know, this type of hitter isn't bad. Like, you can actually use him in the lineup, at least on the bench. But again, it was so much work to grind him in the postseason. Only 3 parallel 5s so far, 8 parallel 4s. There's not that many people use this card a significant amount of time. Even though it's Reggie, I know people like him. Not enough in the defense or not enough on the hitting to really warrant this card. I also made a bench of some guys. Joey Meneses, probably least used 2022 finest. Only 2 parallel 5s so far. Again, a relatively recent card to drop, but he just plays so many stacked positions, first, third, and corner outfield, so I definitely get it. Paul Konerko, that won the event, actually was pretty stacked, but just lacks defense. But still, like, you could see this card being used more than he has been. Only 11 parallel 5s here. Johnny Gomes was literally given out for free as a 99 overall. Max power versus both sides. All the Home Run Derby X guys weren't used much, mainly these 99s, but Gomes especially was not used much. He only has 5 parallel 5s. Another event reward. Lorenzo Cain was one of the first 99s we got in that event with Elvis Andrus. Again, just a little weaker on the attributes for the card that he got. There are only 40 people at parallel 4 and 11 at parallel 5. And the thing is, center field was so shallow, I'm surprised there wasn't at least a little bit more. Like, you compare this to Elvis Andrus, a lot more people used Andrus, and they aren't even that far off from cards. You know, Low Cain just wasn't enough at the point that he dropped. And the last one is Joe Carter. He was in that postseason program right when the postseason started. And like, again, he wasn't bad, but just came out a little too late. It felt like only 5 parallel 5s and 13 parallel 4s. So came out a little too late, in my opinion. So 86 102 versus right is just made it. It isn't even that great versus left. There isn't that much of a purpose on teams for this card. In terms of pitching, easily the most rare starter is Steven Strasburg. Obviously, starting pitchers get a lot more parallels. 9 is the lowest, basically, of the 99 starters. Everyone else has a lot more parallel 5s because it's a lot quicker to get starters. 9 is absurdly low because the combination of grinding the postseason, how mid this card's pitch mix is, and his attributes, very mid card for the end game. It just wasn't worth it to use. So Steven Strasburg is definitely the pick for starting pitcher. Shane McClanahan is definitely the least used finest card. It came out right around the same time, if not a little later than Strasburg. He does have 21 parallel 5s, but that low is kind of crazy. No, he actually has a pretty solid fastball. His motion kind of lulls people to sleep, I feel, and there are so many better finest starters that are better to use. Logan Webb is actually very close to Shane McClanahan. I thought he'd get a little bit more use because I know people might have loved his earlier card in the year. Only 26 on the parallel 5s and 91 on parallel 4. Bert Blyleven, event reward boy, came out a little too late. It felt like with only 88 hits per 9 by the time he dropped. And his pitch mix is a little weird, you know. Only 49 parallel 5s for him. Yes, that is low. If you want to check it out, go check out the other starters. This is very low for a 99. And then last but definitely not least, Oral Hershiser, event reward boy. He was out for a significant amount of time, but just came out a little bit late. For the level of player that this is, usually each year, it's Hershiser. There's always a glitch each year. Low on the hits per 9, clearly, for this level of player, and not that great control. 77 parallel 5s. It's a little bit more than our other starters, but yeah, I think for the length that he was out, that still feels low. And I will say, there are a lot of postseason starters that don't get used much, like Ranger Suarez, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier don't have many parallels. But again, I think it was just too simple to choose those guys for every single one of the starters. So I wanted to get unique and choose people that were out for a significant more amount of time. You know, by the time these cards came out in the postseason, they were the World Series cards. So I definitely get why they don't have that much parallel XP. Relievers, there really aren't many parallel 5 relievers. All of these guys, I think, up in the Evan Phillips, have less than 10 parallel 5s. The combination of them coming out in the postseason or just finest cards. They, of course, aren't 99s, but they came out in the end game, and relievers don't have that many 99s, so there really aren't that many high parallel XP players in relievers. But yeah, let's hop on into a mini seasons game because my internet is very Mickey Mouse today, and see how these guys' swings are and see how they fare. You know, I gotta win some mini seasons games so I can get that Willie Adames at some point, so I think it only makes sense to do this. Oh yeah, and I get to use my custom stadium at night. Ah yes, the team of all DJ LeMahieu's. Oh my, this is trippy. Okay. But yeah, Steven Strasburg, just like, look at the motion, look at all of it. It's also like, like, there was nothing good about this card in this game, sadly enough. Hey, listen, I mean, if there's any good news about this card, he can get outs against the CPU. May not mean much, but it's something. Look at him with the ground outs to LeMahieu. I mean, I absolutely get why this card isn't used much. He just feels so generic in his pitch mix and everything, dude. So I don't ever understand how I would get swings and misses with this card online. Man, he can't even locate. You know what? Maybe you should stick to not being used much, Steven Strasburg. Okay. Ew, that was terrible. Of course they have me facing Garrett Cole, right? It is so crazy to think about how like different Legend plays offline in comparison to online. Yeah, that's a terrible swing. You know what, DJ Mayhew, maybe you're bunned. You know, I liked you back in MLB 19, but he just might be dookie in this game. If he's tapping his toe or anything, it does not feel like you can even see it for me. Oh? Jim Rice? He can get a hit? Go figure. This one actually saddens me. I wish they found a way to make Reggie Jackson better. I would have loved to find a way to get his 99 into my lineup somehow, but even on the all-time Yankees, I don't even think this card starts. Well, we gotta run. Oh, no. That's Julio in center. I am not running on that. Nope. Yeah! All right, Vinny. Well, I think I sold that. No run yet. All right, we're gonna go pitch with the most rare reliever in the game, Drew Pomeranz. Here's the thing with Pomeranz. Obviously, he's a lefty reliever. Lefties are always good to have. He's got a cutter, which is neat. But the man throws 3 fastballs and then a curveball. So it's like, if you're playing against real people, this card is definitely very hittable because 3 of the pitches are basically the same thing. Also, my man has no control. They definitely should have released that Finest Aaron loop from last year instead. That would have been a lot better, I think. God, like, what are you good for, Drew Pomeranz? You just consistently miss spots. Ah! Yeah, I mean, Drew Pomeranz is definitely not him. I think that was already established, but he's definitely not him. Hey, there we go, Drew. You got a lefty out. Let's bring in Shane McClanahan. That's all they've got for his pitcher bio. How tall and how much he weighs. It actually feels toxic. Oh, all right. Can I get a run here? Oh my goodness, Matt Brash. Why is silver Matt Brash on this team? Ah! Whoever this was just grinding out the postseason program and just did not finish it, I think. Incredible swing, George Springer. Speaking of incredible swings, Jeff Bagwell, dude. Why does this man slouch at the plate like this? It's the worst thing ever. You can't hit anything with this card. I was laid on an inside slider. Honestly, this game might go 50 innings, so I might not ever score a run. Ha! You thought Matt Brashy. Now you're in trouble because the greatest card of all time, Miguel Rojas, is up. Oh! What in the world was that? Bless this team's soul. Oh yeah, I forgot that Shane McClanahan literally has the longest windup ever. Honestly, he lulls you to sleep worse than Bob Feller and Walter Johnson and all of them. He just moves so slow. Jim Rice, yes, sir. All right, this inning's about to take 50 hours just because of how long McClanahan takes to pitch. I almost want to take him out right now because I don't like this. Thank you. Good old Bert Blyleven. He was definitely used a bit a couple years ago. I forgot which game it was. Was it MLB 20 or 19 at this point? But holy, they killed my man's hits per 9 this year. Uh-oh. I'm scared. Julio got a hit. Bert Blyleven, if you blowed his game somehow, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, we got out of it. Attaboy, Bert. All right, I got to walk this off. See, this is clearly the moment for Joe Carter, you know? He had his walk-off homer to send him to the World Series, or to win the World Series. He's going to hit... What is with this team? Whoever was grinding the postseason program does not have any flashbacks or legends from the Padres or Mariners. Out here using silvers in the bullpen. Joe Carter. No. Come on, buddy. Ah! Hey, Joe Carter, what are we doing, big guy? Holy, this team is pathetic. We can't even hit silver relievers out here. DJ LeMahieu, what? That ball was just decimated, excuse me? Where did that come from? Go back. We're gonna put in Johnny Gomes here because I do want to use Johnny Gomes. I don't get why this card wasn't used much. I mean, maxed out power, good contact versus both sides. Like, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot better players, but like this card didn't get used at all, basically. But hey, he hit a double. It's kind of him. Very underrated boy. Call me crazy, but it's actually Lorenzo Cain's time. This is Lorenzo Cain's time, okay? The one thing that you will ever see Lorenzo Cain do in this MLB the Show. Cain! He did something! Those were the rarest 99's MLB the Show 22. Let me know how you think about this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, we do a lot of creative stuff like this in the latter part of the year while we're waiting for MLB 23. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more MLB the Show. I appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all again on the next video here later this week. Deuces.